15 seconds.
Woo, woo, woo.
Hi, I'm good.
Guess who
Fish is
didn't
getting
unmute
married.
himself for the intro again? Welcome to the Planar Podcast EP3. I'm Gavin. I play. We'll see. We'll
Hi.
see in 2 weeks who I play. I'm joined by my three lovely guests. Evie, how are you? What have you been up to?
I'm good. Fish is getting married, so we're working on a bunch of quests for him.
Woo!
Which was pretty neat.
So there's gonna
Okay.
be quest lines attached to that.
Yeah. The first one is they are going to go to a potion of youth, which is pretty neat. And by potion, I mean entire fountain of it. So, it's gonna be even better than that one time when Avash ate a potion of youth in front of Pidge
Oh.
and didn't vomit it back into his mouth.
Listen, Avash freaked out. He was 13, and that's
He was 13.
it's not good. Not a
Brooke,
good time.
my friend, how are you? What have you been up to? What are you doing this week?
Well, other than getting the shit kicked in by Anna, I've been good. I'm hanging out on the server. I'm got quests coming up hopefully soon, if I can find the time and the courage to run them. Blind, I hadn't forgotten about you. I'm gonna run your dang pleasure request. Okay, we gotta tell your dad that you're gay. Well, not Blind, but Ambrose anyway. Other than that, we got the whole siege thing coming up and all the in-character drama that's been happening, which we'll probably talk about.
Yes,
Today.
we will. And finally, our illustrious guest, our expert of voices and improv. We have C-Star, who plays Paladin with us. How are you, my friend? What have you been up to?
Hello. I'm doing lovely. This past week, I've not been terribly active on account of the fact that I've got quite a bit of real-life work to take care of, school to catch up on, and all that. But of course, that didn't stop me from squeezing in a game or two, and Paladin's number steadily decreases, which is lovely. And next week, however, I Let the Great Work Commence was rescheduled to the 10th, which I am super excited about because that's a Hob quest. And Hob runs very excellent combat. We're going to go be stealing some light from the plane of light to make some windows. And then sometime between the 11th and the 17th, my very own quest, rather the one that I submitted, One Modron Marches, is going to be run by Orgnok, which I am very excited about.
Oh, I would be too. So, we'll get into more specific questions later. But first, I have some bad news, everybody. We've had some events happen on the server this week, and we wanted to give a bit of an in memoriam. Evie, please take it away.
It's so sad. So first, last week, our good friend Samira Muriel, the Crimson Druid, lost her life in
What a
battle.
surprise to me specifically.
To you specifically, thanks for killing her. Love
Oh,
is a great gift and a great burden, and it can lift you up and throw you around and push you down. Some say love is blindness, some say love kills. Samira was not without flaws, and she had much left to learn. She may not have been cut out for adventure, but she was a kind soul that rejoiced at the opportunity to live, and wherever possible she chose words over force. She wished to help others, but most of all she was drawn to those who bore deep scars within their hearts and minds. Her efforts were valiant, but in the end she could not keep up with the one that she cared for above all others. In attempting to help with the rescue of Lorila's father, her story was cut short, and her soul is now lost to the abyss. May it prevail and find solace one day. Avash Wolfrain, our poster boy, became a literal poster. But it's cool now. Anna kicked his ass, and now he's out of the poster.
There we go.
Anna, our beautiful, beautiful barmaid, is now that poster. We're gonna get her back. We're gonna save her, y'all. Okay.
You know,
So
some
there's
say
actually
love.
only that was pretty good.
Yeah.
We told Evie to be ready to do that a whole 5 minutes before the podcast started. A round of applause for Evie. That was
I can't clap.
fantastic.
For the stomach.
Clap, clap.
Fantastic.
That was everything I hoped it would be. So it was only one actual character death, and we actually had the man responsible for that right here. That's the real reason we brought you on the podcast.
Oh, where is that
Thanks,
asshole?
Connor.
Fucking let me at him.
Let
me at
crimes.
So as was mentioned, Lorila and the gang went into the hideous plains of the abyss. As everyone knows, demons are the typical natives of the abyss. However, this was the 505,471st layer of the abyss, the layer of Devil's Rule. And so they had to go up against some pretty hardcore shit, wielding magical weapons. The gang assumed that they had driven back these forces into a sort of tunneled building, when in fact they were just grouping up near the entrance. Samira, as a giant constrictor snake, inadvertently blocked the entrance and made herself the only target for 3 chain devils with a total of, I think 17 attacks between them. And in the end, thanks to a single critical hit, there were precisely enough hits to kill Samira in one fell swoop, or 17 to be precise. And someone pointed out to me immediately after that I had in fact narrated the tortured souls mining away black iron, piercing up from the red crag everywhere around the vicinity. And so I had Samira make a charisma save. It was relatively high, as planar effects typically are, and she was not able to succeed. And so her soul was trapped there. Obviously, there were plenty of questions about, can we save her? Can we at least put her to some sort of stable rest? Those questions have not yet been answered. As I said, I have been pretty busy this past week.
How do you think Fragger feels with all of this talk about Anna London going around and saving her, and then like Samira is like a tortured soul in the middle of the abyss? No one's talking about her.
That's a lie. We already have plans for that. Maria's like, listen, level 20 comes, we're gonna go right for her.
Exactly. Like, here's the thing.
Fair enough.
All we're doing is we're going to Verdunkai. Like, we can just do that. That's not even a hard thing to do. Avash knows a guy. Like, literally, that's how every quest starts in Verdunkai. It's like, oh, is Avash here? Let's go talk to his gnome friend. How the hell do we get to the abyss without fucking like dying? You know what I mean? Like,
it was the session concluded in true season finale fashion with Lorila's father booking it across a burning hellscape with a massive pit fiend trailing him in the distance and screaming bloody murder about his sins. So,
this is kind of
tread lightly.
It does seem for a lot of individual characters right now, we are coming to like a season 1 end, right? Or at least even like a midway point, right?
Which is super cool.
Right. If you guys in chat have any moments that you think are your season 1 finale, let us know. I do quickly want to...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. After you.
I was just going to mention that some sort of season ending for Paladin is coming up shortly.
No.
Gosh, I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that his name keeps decreasing in number.
Frick, I got no heckin' clue.
What was the starting number and what's the number now?
Originally it was Peloton 00325. And now we are down to 0094.
That's scary. That's scary.
It has decreased significantly over the course of his adventures. I have been keeping careful track. There are different modifiers that affect when it goes down. And when it hits 0, something happens.
So you're gonna share all this after. Well, you know what? I'm gonna save that for. Well, no spoilers. Cybo in chat saying her proposal was the season 1 finale. So that's 2 marriages. Whenever this happens in real life, there's always fighting to happen. So I can't wait for that to happen in D&D context. The only other real current event we wanted to talk about was just all the stuff that went down. We're kind of biased because me and Crook are both in this podcast. But Crook, give us the very basic TLDR. This topic has been discussed to death by almost every relevant character on the server. But for those who don't know,
fucking white guy blinking. Shout out to all the non-relevant characters.
you know what? I don't think, you know what? If you're a character who has no clue what's going on, you know, God bless. You don't want to be a part of this. Just like turn around, walk away, ignore all these weird, strange people.
There are a number of characters I could probably list off the top of my head who just would not give a shit about anyone except their very closest friends. You know, there are niches happen.
Yeah, I can think of a few who probably like both in character and even out of character, just like, what? People died.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, people died? In what? In a West Marches game? People have fallen to evil forces?
Like, what?
Wow.
Oh,
Slap me
cool.
sideways.
Well, that's kind of the cool thing though right now is that there are more and more players who are getting active in the server who have no clue what's going on, and it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I'm gonna say it's me, Crook, and Evie. We're the ones who did it, but there have been a ton of level 3 quests run in the past 2 weeks. So shout outs to you DMs. The 3 of us take all the credit, but there's pretty good second generation coming through the server right now.
Yeah, I like a lot of the new people we got. They all seem very excited to play. So if any of you guys are watching right now, I love you deeply. Please call me. But
please answer my text.
TLDR, Vernon
TLDR.
Kai, what's up with that?
Okay, so basically what happened initially was simple Verdant Kai stuff. We come in here, relevant NPC tells us the party to do a thing, we go do the thing, right? Well, here's what happens. The person we talk to turns out to be the bargaining type. Guess who else is the bargaining type? Avash. So Avash is like, yeah, I can reason with her, watch this shit. So he goes up, talks to her, it goes to shit. He ends up stepping into a portal to talk with the head honcho type deal person, face to face, and makes a deal with her. The deal kind of sucks because it involves him killing his friend, who also just happens to be the person he loves. So he's like, nah, fuck that shit. So instead, when she reopens the portal for Avash to leave, everyone else comes in to attack. Then that plan goes to shit, and then Talindra, the person that Avash would have killed, or was supposed to kill, went down, and she had like 2 death saves, and she was about to die. And so Avash was like, okay, we'll stop this whole thing. New plan. You take me. I sacrifice myself. You let everyone go, and we finish the job. All right, and that's what happens. And then I make my dead book post, and I'm over here writing my new backup, and I have all this stuff going on. Then all of a sudden, fucking Gavin over here decides to say, "Fuck that shit," and does some really amazing roleplay with Tally, and about heartbreak and stuff. And so he decides that Anna is gonna fucking just go off her rocker and go track.
Anna decided, get right.
Continue. Anna decided that she's just gonna fucking do the craziest thing, go track down Avash, and take his place at in the poster that he was trapped in, because she had like a wall, the demon woman, the demon queen as we call her, Terex, I forget her name, fucking, but she had like a poster wall or whatever, and everyone was trapped on it. And Avash was one of those posters. But Anna comes in to take his place, but not before just kind of kicking the shit out of him because, love triangle stuff.
That's a very good TLDR.
I think that's pretty much it, right?
What?
Yeah.
Let me ask you one thing, actually, about the quest itself. By the way, that was run by Raiden. All of this started from a simple pug Really
Yes.
big shout outs to him for evolving this into what looks like to be the server's first actual raid. More details on that to come. But was this an example of the party just kind of running forward and auto attacking their way through an encounter, or was it like not planned enough? Like, tell me how that went from the player standpoint.
So, in my opinion, and this is also in character, Avash's opinion, I fucked up. I didn't think too far ahead of what I was doing, or what to do. I didn't realize that I'd get that far, and so when I had gotten there, I didn't know what else to say, and so it kind of led into a bunch of stuff. And then when I tried to pick up the pieces and make a solid plan, which was, hey, we're just going to take out the Demon Queen right here, right now, it would have worked, but some of the rolls weren't in our favor, and so some shit kind of went out of hand. So I guess it's a little bit of both. Of not planning, and then the team just kind of like hoping for the best when, yeah, we should have been expecting for the worst.
So that's for the future. That's a really good DM strategy, right? Let your players talk themselves into a hole.
Probably, yeah. It can lead into some pretty dramatic stuff, as some of you who've been paying attention have probably noticed.
So that's Siege. That's the Siege in Verdankai. Kind of a quick TLDR. That event is still unfolding. And in the way that I understand that Raiden wants to do it, this could be very much a server-wide event that you'll need manpower to siege a castle. So should be pretty fun.
We're gonna do a prep quest for information and stuff soon with just I think the roster is me, Talindra, Ajax, and Truth. And we're gonna go to Verdankai and we're gonna try to get some information and stuff.
The way I kind of picture it is, if you've ever played Grand Theft Auto 5, if you've ever done a heist, you kind of you have to do a bunch of events, a bunch of quests to get to the point where you can conduct the heist in the first place. That's kind of the feel that I hope it goes for. I don't have that much agency to do anything in this quest, so I'm gonna just sit back, relax, and I'm actually gonna help Raiden DM part of that. But we got a pretty good roster. Yeah, Raiden's recruited a few DMs to really make this a good server-wide event.
So yeah, as a note, because it's a server-wide event, that means that pretty much all levels can participate. So hopefully, maybe not level 3s, maybe we'll see.
I mean,
Maybe.
we'll see what happens.
We could do like a little sneaky thing for them.
It's still a work in progress, right?
Yeah, there's like 3 weeks before the actual thing happens. So
I'm sure there's goons outside the castle and people that can be bartered with to get some information. That would be a suitable quest for novice adventurers, striplings, just out of the streets of Sigil.
what I think is going to be fun is that now that Raiden has collected all his DMs for this series, for this whole event, he gets to nerd out and like tell everyone all his Verdankai. Which would be great.
It's like, here's my Verdankai lore. It's deep lore.
Oh, it's perfect.
Deep Verdankai lore.
There's what could any DM desire more than just a single person to sit there and gush to about the world they've created?
Yeah, dude.
This was just his long con, like, how can I spread Verdankai as wide as possible? I'll kidnap a PC or two.
How do I spread the message of Verdankai to non-believers?
You heard the plane of our holy savior, Verdankai. C-Star, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll move on from current events. And I know that you wanted to talk about this. This is a topic that I want to talk about. We're going to sort of combine the two. We wanted to talk about vocal roleplay and improv, because I don't know if you guys have been on a quest with C-Star / Paladin 007, but it's a treat. It is
007.
It's pretty awesome. And if you could give us an example very quickly for context, why
Sure.
Like, what okay, so Paladin walks into a bar and asks for a drink. What does it sound like?
So Paladin walks up to the bar, right? He's hops up on a stool, right? He motions for the bird over behind the counter. He says, "Hey, love, why don't you fetch me a scotch? Couple of rocks in it, not too many though. Don't want to freeze up my gears, and just make it snappy. I understand you got a little bit service on your hands tonight, but I got a little bit of extra coin in it for you. All right, all right."
It's fucking amazing.
And
I
so
love that.
meanwhile, someone like me who plays a bartender would roleplay that out as, I get you a drink, and that's about as far as I go. So I have to ask, where does it come from? Where does not only so there's so many components, right? So the accent, the improv, the what goes into it?
I think why I designed Paladin in order to be, and I'll explain what I mean by this in a second, the perfect player character. And I don't mean that in a mechanical sense. I don't mean that in like he's a Mary Sue, but I mean Paladin's ideals are
because he's a robot.
Right. Maybe. I mean, he is a robot. Maybe someday he will become the perfect machine and destroy all humans. But you know,
Can't wait.
We'll wait for Zero on that one. But he, I make him so that he doesn't take anything too seriously, because honestly, I feel like that's the best way to play Dungeons and Dragons. That's one of his flaws, actually. I have very little capacity to be serious. He does what he wants. He doesn't take orders, which is sometimes to the dismay of like the more tactical of our group. But I just always know that it'll work out, and so I never have a problem doing it. But also, what he always says at the beginning of a quest is, as long as you run with me, you're my brothers. And that always puts people at ease. If there's character drama between a party, you will be less efficient than if there isn't. And if you can say right off the bat, I don't care who you are, if we're on the same team, then we are rolling together and we're protecting each other. That's just like a huge confidence boost for everyone.
You say that in the context of a player and a character at the same time?
I would say so. I think there's a lot of Connor in Paladin, and I say that in the fact that I have him be very morally crooked. He'll steal. He's known a hard life, and he doesn't know much about people society. But whenever I play D&D, this is who I like to be. I like to be the front lines, the everyman, the one calling the shots and speaking to the dames and smoothing up the fellas and all that fancy stuff. And so it comes very naturally for me to be the one pushing the action forward. Like if no one's saying something, I want to say something because we're not doing anything, and we should be. That's what we're here for. And so he very much suits how I like to play Dungeons and Dragons. And I think if you find a character that really matches your personality and that you're able to play to your own strengths, like obviously if you want to make a character that's like your total opposite, which I've done before, that's cool. It's always awesome to challenge yourself that way and go like, well, what if I try this super primo, but there's still always that one type that you'll play the best, and when you are that person, you're a strong force and people believe in you.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like you're good at what you do often, right? And
Sure.
so when you're playing a character that is comfortable for you, that is more similar to yourself, then you're good at playing that character, and you can portray that character in a believable fashion, which is why it's such a treat to listen to Paladin talk and to Paladin do things just in general, because you can see, like C-Star being presented through that, and it's great because it's so natural and it's so fluid. It's a fun thing
Go
to
ahead.
see.
Thanks.
That's a lot to say. I love you.
Oh, I love you too,
I
man.
love
It's a big part of it that I just happen, I can't remember if it's training or if it just sort of comes to me, but I happen to be good at coming up with things on the spot. And all it'll be is I'm deciding what I want to say before I say it, and then as it's coming out of my mouth, I'm twisting those words. So you said I'm in a bar scene. All right, well, I know that I want a drink, and let's just keep adding words onto that. And constantly have the number one thing, no matter what you're playing, when it comes to any character, you don't have to know their background. You don't have to know who their mom is. You don't have to know anything. You can figure all that stuff out. You can check your notes. You scribbled something down about them. You only need to know how they feel. Like how are they feeling right now? How do they feel normally? What are their big ideals? For example, an easy big ideal is I don't like X race. That's something that people go with a lot. And then when that race comes in the bar, a lot of people want to go like, oh, it's an elf. They're in the bar. Yeah, let's go attack them. But you have to also think about, yes, they don't like elves, but wait, they're a human being in the city of Sigil, who's maybe in a district where there are a lot of elves. You probably will not go attack that elf because you're not one-dimensional. You're an entire person. You're more than those stats, right? Well, my stats say that I'm wisdom 6. I was like, yeah, so maybe you don't see the other elves around, but your intelligence is like 10, so you know that there probably are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm drifting farther from the questions to go on.
You're fine.
Probably.
You're fine.
No, okay.
I think a wisdom 6 is probably a big reason why you ride an elephant around town.
Oh no! I wasn't speaking specifically to his stats, but no, he's got a above average intellect and wisdom. The elephant is just because Paladin escaped Mechanus long ago. And when he came to Sigil, he had literally nothing. He didn't even speak common. Everything was very strange. And that's... Okay, here's an interesting thing. I was going to say that's the reason that he has sort of a Cockney accent, right? It's the uneducated Brits is what speaks like this. But as a matter of fact, in the very first session I played with Paladin, about 30 minutes before the session, I had no idea what he was going to sound like. And then I kind of like got there and it was my turn to talk. And so I picked something at random and started talking.
I think
and
that was my session.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That was the one when we were playing cards together and stuff.
Yeah. That was a good time.
And the reason for that is because I'm at a loss, actually. I can justify it in a million ways backwards, but I can't really justify it forwards. I just started talking and let the character build itself. The only thing you have to worry about with that is that if you let your character build yourself, if you just start talking and then keep talking, which is totally a thing you can do, you then have to make sure there's a point where you stop and you go, okay, let's take everything I just said and make it mean something.
There's some point where you over-explain yourself and that layer of believability starts to go away.
Exactly. There's one of my rule as a person, C-Star's number one rule is always know why you feel a way. I know why my favorite color is purple, because once I decided I really like purple, and then I figured out why. It's because it's the color of my favorite soda, grape soda. It is the color of royalty, which I very much respect. And it is a cool color, which is very pleasing and matches my personality. I could tell you everything, the reason that I've done everything. And if I figure out, I can't really figure out why I did that, then I go back. Like if I'm saying something and I say something rude, I say something mean to someone, the instinct might be to, and it's not a terrible either, to double down and be like, oh, we're gonna knock you up even harder because I've already done it. Whereas if I realized I hurt someone, I might go, is there a reason I did that? And then if the answer is no, or yeah, but that's still not cool, then I'll go back and I'll be like, oh yeah, my bad. I'll fix that before moving on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What?
I mean, oh,
No, go ahead.
now you go ahead.
No, you go
So,
ahead.
We have a lot of players on the server who are very active in text RP. Roleplay their characters very well, have a good personality set. They not really many Mary Sues in that regard. What?
Oh yeah, no way.
Should people like that take that extra step to get better at vocal roleplay? Yes, no, and how?
If, as a DM, I feel that it is very important. It's a lot of people have said before, your world can be fantastic and intricate and have all these little niches about it, but your players aren't interacting with the world. They are always at the forefront. You can give a great description, and that's something actually that I always intend to do. When a player arrives in a new area, my first step is always to describe all the scenery, to describe sensations, visuals, the vastness of where they are, or the crampedness of where they are. You might be in a sprawling, rolling plains with lush grass and just the smell of cleanliness in the air, or you might find yourself in a dark, cramped room. The only sounds are those of droplets of water popping against the ground. And then after that, after they know where they are, after they can tell what their character is thinking, because if you just go you're in a dungeon, there's a sword right there. Oh, cool, let's go for the sword. That it's a thing, let's do it. But if you tell them, if you spend time going over where they are, then they can take their characters and go, well, my character's a rat guy. He's from the sewers. This is just like home. And then they'll start doing that. They'll spend time building their character and showing other people who their character is. And then meanwhile, the germaphobe is going like, oh my gosh, holy shit, look at all this. It's disgusting. Oh, Lord. And it's you get to see those characters. I've described areas and then spent like 20 minutes just watching the characters interact with each other, which is just a weight off my shoulders, and I appreciate.
Yeah.
And then after I'm done describing the environment, then I describe, also there's a town here, or also there is a rack of items on the walls. Those look interesting. Or there was one time where I almost described the person in the room first, but then I described the entire room. And then finally, as everyone was like, oh, that's super neat, I described, and there's like a 7-foot-tall Goliath standing just on the other side of the door. And then everyone was like, whoa, because I had spent that time building it up to that most interesting thing. And so it wasn't just like, oh, cool. It was like, holy shit, this was there the whole time? Yeah, it was. As far as, so yeah, as a DM, they're interacting most with the characters. And so everything that you can do to help them build that character in their mind just strengthens what you have made. If you have a picture of the character, awesome, throw that out there. If you have a picture of the character that you yourself have drawn, like double awesome, because now they have all the little niches and things that you think are important that should be seen. And then the way that I feel you can really cement a character in someone's mind, cement like what they are and how the person should feel about them, is to give them a voice. Because if I want a character to sound like a little whelp that you really shouldn't be too concerned about, I'm going to draw it back, and he's going to have a little annoying thing, and everyone can get a little bit of a laugh out of it. And meanwhile, oh, yeah, sword is through my chest.
Oh, sword.
And then that, so you know what that is. Like, you have an idea in your head of what the person that was just talking sounded like. And so then when I contrast that with the hulking abomination moving forth, crashing through the wall and wielding a massive warhammer and screaming, "You are ants beneath my feet! Watch as I crush you and make bread of your bones!" That sells it. That shows the person what they're dealing with.
Is
They're
anybody
not
else
dealing with the
shivering right
whelps
now?
anymore.
Yeah.
So as a dungeon master, yes, big ups, absolutely. You don't have to be a voice actor, but if you're too afraid to put that voice forward, you're only detracting from your own world. You know, if no one is going to judge you here. We are all here to be silly and have a great time together. So any effort you put towards what I just did, like if you want your guy to sound big, but you don't think you have the voice for it, but if you give it a try, people will get what you're going for and they will play along with you because that's what we're here to do. But finally, your original question: should players in the voice text worry about that? Some people are stronger writers, and that is okay. Your player, and I'm not saying anyone believes this, but your player is not the main character. They are not the center of the story. They are one of many participating in building a story actively with their fellow players. So you don't need to be the center of attention. You know, you don't need to be out there, and sometimes it's fun to be, and that's what player requests are for, especially. But if you feel confident as a writer, then go for it. Develop those skills. Play with people who acknowledge you in the chat, and describe your character with the fabulous, fantastical words that you've learned. I know KC, my first quest that I played with KC, KC was going to play a bard, and that bard spoke exclusively in rhymes.
Oh my god, I love that character.
She gave us an example of it one time, and it was fantastic. But she didn't get to play it. I think someone talked her out of it.
It was Maria, and I was real bummed about it. I was like, please,
no.
please, I want this.
All right, everybody, go scold Maria. But in the meantime, Casey decided to go for a different character type. Now she is Ray, the edgy tiefling. But in the first quest I played with her, Doms had set us on this cruise ship. Excuse me. Doms had set us on this cruise ship where we had to perform a play for some beholders or else perish. And we did. And KC had to use text chat because she didn't have voice available. And we got line after line, bar after bar of just fantastically sick beats in the form of like Shakespearean rhythm, I think. Or maybe it was ABAB. And everyone loved it because Casey knew a shitload of words and how to put them together.
I remember reading that, and I was like, this is fucking pure fire. And it was like the greatest thing in the world.
I don't think there ever has been or ever will be a more concentrated storm of fire Discord emotes than there has been in that particular moment.
I think out of all of that, there's one really important thing to mention, and that's being a good role player and being a good improv artist are two very different things.
Exactly. Time doesn't exist here. When you are reading a book, when you are telling a story, when you are playing a game together, you can have a 2-hour combat and a 2-minute trek across the vast plains, just because that's the nature of the beast. So if you talk to people and ask for that time and interact and communicate what you need, you can. Oh, that was something I didn't mention. One of the things I do with Paladin is he is very vocal. So even when I'm narrating his actions, I will talk in his voice as though he's doing them, because it's just supposed to be seamless. You're not supposed to know when he's like talking or when he's not, or when he's just screwing around. But it's just as viable to go, my character is Miter, the tall Warforged cleric. Miter walks over to you, and Miter compliments your attire. Miter goes on about, and then people will focus more on picturing your character in their head, maybe. Picturing the visual, picturing the actions. This character is very expressive, you don't even have to say like he bows. You just speak in that tone and say what a noble would say, maybe, and people will picture a noble.
All right. I think another big thing is emotion. Trying to sell what because the thing about people, right, when you're talking, is you can tell generally what they're feeling by how they sound. And another thing about D&D is that adventuring is extremely dangerous. And there will be constant times where you are shouting, where you are terrified, where you're adrenaline rushed, where you're raging, you're angry, or even when you're sad or crying. And being able to sell that emotion through vocal role play is another very important thing for characters, because it sells it more. It sells the idea that this is a person experiencing this thing right now that's happening from all of us. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I think that says a little bit about you, Kruk, because I would say that there are some people who are auditory learners, and there are some people who are visual learners. And that's interesting for me to know, because I too am an auditory and kinesthetic learner. I like to hear, and I like to, well, hear in certain cases, but mostly feel. And if you are with certain people will want to hear that voice and will be better at perceiving the character that way. But for example, like Kruk said, if you're experiencing sorrow, Paladin might go, he might slow down, go up a couple of times. Paladin doesn't have the capacity to cry, so all he can really do is sit and stare and wonder what he could have done differently. But imagine that I wrote that same thing. Imagine now I'm speaking in monotone. Imagine if I wrote, Paladin takes a knee. He looks to his companions, but his eyes are dry. But you can see his quivering lips. He stabs his sword into the ground and collapses over the body of a dead child. He cries out, I wonder what I could have done differently.
Yeah. It's
you
still as powerful, right? But it sells it more when you add the emotion.
Both together is perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, both work completely fine. And there is no wrong way to do it. It's just finding what you are good at. Like what we mentioned before. If you're good at something, find the fluidity of doing it more and selling that realism. It's kind of how acting is, I guess.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. So this whole thing is just a big play. So, and I think you had a big point with you can do either or, sure, but doing them together, I think, is what you were getting at, is what sells it perfectly.
There's this big technique we have in the acting world, which is very obvious, but not many people think about it as they go, but it's called emotional recall, right? So when you're acting out the scene of a sad character, it doesn't mean you have to think of the saddest moment in your life, but be empathetic to, well, I was sad at this moment in my life. That's what my character's going through. How can I channel that into, those small subtleties that make it not a text RP, right? Like the little quiver in your voice. And, I'm not going to try to one-up your amazing performance right there, because I think you broke the heart of like 5 people in my chat just now. I have to really highlight as well, Evie, I think you also do a decent amount of vocal roleplay with Pidge in the form of accents.
Pidge is just my voice, just tone shifted and just really pitch shifted and a little bit faster. And then he kind of speaks like he doesn't know what a comma is.
I do I love sitting with Pidge and hearing Evie go through various pitches as the session goes on.
Yeah.
Oh, certainly. I know. Avesh has his wink. He has a wink counter, as a matter of fact. Um, your character is a person, and the absolute best thing you can do for them as a person is figure out who they are and what they believe in, and then personify that.
I flipped my mute again. I was unmuted when I was unmuted.
Ding
Oh,
his
lovely.
head.
I was just saying that Pidge, or that Evie. Oh yeah, when did I mute? Probably I mentioned that Evie was very good with adding in very small little flourishes that add to Pidge's character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, precisely. Uh, collecting my train of thought. Yeah, agree. 100% agree. I'm not going to contest this. I just lose my head sometimes. Isn't that lovely?
It's great.
I would have to agree. The what Evie has done with Pidge is usually I have a thing, just a personal thing, not against any particular person, against and this is a big anime trope, like cute, cuddly characters who then also like whip out an axe and are like badasses. It's very difficult to strike a balance there. It's very difficult for it to not come off as cheesy. And I think that Pidge has found that balance. I think that Evie, when you play Pidge, the voice that you do and the way that you hold yourself most of the time, but you keep being that. You carry that into combat, and you're always protecting Roz. You're always first and foremost going to fuck everyone up, regardless of the situation. And I think you found that, and I really appreciate that about Pidge.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Chat, what to the people listening in chat, what are your favorite little things that people do to add personality to their characters in vocal roleplay? Interested in seeing a few of your responses. That we're gonna sort of push us on a little bit farther.
Okay.
We have more questions for you, C Star, but I also want to open it up to questions from Twitch chat and to
Nice.
my lovely co-hosts. Evie, Krook, do you have anything that you've been wondering about C Star? Anything you want to ask him? Anything goes.
Hmm. I think.
While you're thinking, I want to give a shout out. Romulus is our resident friend who plays Cynosure, and Cynosure is a sensate who is always open to new experiences. He comes from a noble family, so you might assume that he goes like, "Oh, none of that, please, none of that for me, thanks." When in fact, whenever Cynosure with his haughty accent and his fancy clothes, you could splash mud on him or chew with your mouth open, and he's just kind of like, oh, delightful. And I absolutely adore that about him. So shout out to Ron.
Yeah, he does a really good job of selling like the sensei. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I don't know. He's like the archetypal sensei, I guess you could say, if there is ever
Which
such a thing.
you need one, right? You need the baseline. Toothless
Exactly.
puts in Twitch chat. If a player, it's engagement and effort. If a player's putting a lot of effort in their character, even if they aren't a great voice actor, you feel it. I agree with that. It's 100% confidence.
Exactly. That I think ties into what I was saying before, which is if you are playing something that you are good at playing and putting your all into it, and you know where everything is coming from, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, and everyone is going to want to buy that. They're going to want to believe in you and believe in your character, and not necessarily believe in what they stand for, but believe that they are an entity somewhere out there in the vast cosmos, and that's what this game is about.
Like, I don't even do an accent for Avash. I just talk how I normally talk. He has his own little mannerisms and things like that. But for the most part, it's just what he's saying is what I like to sell and how he's feeling. Like, I make again, going on with emotion, I make the distinct difference between me talking and then him talking in that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that can sell the character is being able to shift your tone and your voice based on what the character's feeling, what they're doing, things like that. And then, selling it and then putting effort into making that character seem like a real entity, like you said.
Mm-hmm. It's exactly like I said when I was saying you don't have to be able to do fancy voices. You don't have to be a voice actor. If you are putting, like you said, if you are putting effort into it, as Kruk is, as Evie does, as I'm sure that Gavin does, although I haven't played with Anna before, people will want to believe in you.
I know that Kruk and Evie have both put me, and I'd like them to just go and skip that answer.
Listen, I love Anna.
Here's the other thing, is that I've always seen Anna as just like an extension of Gavin, so it doesn't matter.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's
Exactly.
nothing wrong with just making a character who is you. And in fact, that's where when I'm getting my friends into D&D, that's where I encourage them to start. I say, just make yourself as a hero, because then they will have they'll have that one-off, or they'll have that campaign where they just play themselves and loot and get monsters. And you as a DM kind of like roll your eyes and deal with it because, they're having a great time. And then in the second character, without fail, every single time, they will go, I think I want to try this instead. I think that would be a good challenge for me.
I'm still...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck. What does that even mean?
You're still stuck? It's okay.
I'm the Anna is an extension of Gavin.
Because here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm
You
listening.
mentioned
I'm listening.
You mentioned before that it's really easy for you to roleplay as Anna because Anna basically just does what you would do in this situation. And so I took that as like, oh, like they're similar in a lot of their attitudes and things that they the way they deal with things. And so every time Anna talks in character, he doesn't really need a voice because I've always imagined Anna as just kind of being Gavin but with Key.
Mm-hmm. Gavin, but with Key.
Gavin, but with Key and boobs.
And boobs. Sure.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
We'll talk about this more after the podcast. But
sure.
All of chat's agreeing with you, so I guess you're onto something. But
Nice.
any further questions for Connor?
As a wrap up to that statement, real quick, I think if you do find yourself agreeing with your character a lot, maybe it's time to challenge yourself and try a character who you don't agree with as much. It's all about testing the waters and figuring out what makes you have the most fun.
Yeah.
And now, excuse me for interrupting. Questions for me, Evie and Kruk.
Still think I have one thing.
Go for it.
This really isn't about the vocal roleplay stuff, though.
I don't care.
But one thing I really like about a lot of your characters is that they have very distinct like designs about them, or very particular character choices. Like the fact that you're playing a Warforged, but he's a Quadrone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why? And they're not even just that, but like his attitude choices and all his like the way he dresses, the just all like I always my favorite picture of all time server ever is the one of Paladin being all big pimpin' with his fucking fine clothes, his goggles at night, and it's all like gold lined, and it's just I love it.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about Paladin was that his original design, he had pants that didn't fit. And then the moment that he got money, he got pants that were fitted. And I was like, this is awesome.
This is awesome. Yeah.
I just want to know what goes into that process of you making a character like that.
What your character so I mentioned that how your character acts should be most based in their ideals. How they look should be most based in their background. I always everyone makes a cool background for their character, and that's awesome. Use that. Figure out where they've been, what they've done, and how they've done it. Shield was my first character on this server. All of my characters have been Warforged, by no mistake. And Warforged are my favorite. But Shield was a tool. He's barely sentient. He was made as a fighting machine, and he has just fought and fought with this rally of barbarians. And so I kind of designed him, and then I was like, they don't take that great care of him. He's going to be rusty. So I made him rusty, and then I was like, oh, as a fighter, as a soldier, I get a symbol of my rank in the army. I guess barbarians would just steal things as their rank. So he's going to have a cape of tattered flags of enemy bands that he's destroyed. And that was him. That's pretty much as far as I got with Shield. He retired in his first session, and because I love Raiden's World. Then there was Calliope. And the very interesting thing about Calliope is that is not her real name, because of her background, which is it's been a while, and I don't think she's going to get resurrected at this point. So if we have time, Gavin, I'll talk about that. No. Sure. Carlisle
again. Yeah, we have time. Just if you can give me the.
No, I heard you. I heard you.
No, I was muted in stream. I gotta get my hands off.
Okay.
I keep
I got
coughing off to the side. I have something up in my throat, so I'm trying to cough off screen. But yeah, we have time to answer that. We do have a few viewer questions, but if you could maybe give the
here's the abridged version. Carlisle is the name of a human wizard who believes themselves to be an elf. They have studied elf culture their entire life, and towards the end of their 100-ish years of life, they believe they're an elf, so they believe they should live for 700 years, and so they put all of their efforts into curing this ailment that they had, which was humanity. And they did so by putting their soul inside of a warforged. The warforged just happened to be female, and because at that point, Carlisle, the human who believes himself to be an elf, they were like, well, this is my chassis for the foreseeable future until I can find magic to actually turn me into an elf. So I guess I was a woman the whole time. So Carlisle, aka Calliope, is a transgendered trans species human.
Nice.
And they are a human who believes themselves to be an elf in a warforged chassis. And they my whole character with them was they knew everything about elven lore and about their culture, but they had never met many elves. So when they tried to speak Elvish, I described it as being I described it to elves specifically as being like off. You know, it's like it's a strange dialect that she's speaking. And the reason she's named Calliope is because I was going to have them be called Carlisle, but someone asked me their name, and I was like, this is a new world. They're not going to stick with that same name. They're going to want a name that reflects their new freedom, their new freedom of race and their new freedom of gender. And so I was like, what do you think my name is? And then they chose Calliope, a muse, and I was like, that's awesome. So that was her name then.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's all about where they came from is what they. And finally, Paladin. I told you all about his story, and Evie highlighted the pants. Paladin came into Sigil not knowing anything. He had to fend for himself and learn Common and coordinate with the Revolutionary League for years before anyone saw Paladin 52.5 on his first quest debut.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think so far I've loved every one of your characters. Even on our old server, CWM, I really like Jacqueline just because of how you played her thing.
Jacqueline, thanks. Jacqueline is a lot of fun. Bucket will always be my favorite CWM character.
I never got to meet Bucket because I joined like a few days before he died.
I'm terribly sorry. Yes, Bucket fell because he was underleveled in an encounter, and the DM didn't realize it, and a wraith crit me on an opportunity attack, and you do not go unconscious when a wraith kills you. You die.
Nope.
Oh,
Yeah.
rip.
Pepperoni. All right, viewer questions.
Yeah, viewer
Viewer
questions. One from Soph to start. Improv in the moment is hard. Sometimes I feel like, or some things I feel like saying just don't feel right. How do I make snap decisions and play my character to the best of my ability? Connor, I think you're pretty uniquely suited to answer that question.
Thank you. Improv is a skill. Improv is a skill like riding a bike is a skill. You practice it. And this is, like I said, this is a no judgment zone. I do not censor myself. I do not censor myself when I play Paladin. If a word comes into my head and I think, that's vaguely accurate, I'll say it. And that's what I think makes him very unpredictable and funny at times. Because you'll notice if you pay close attention, most of the shit I say comes from nothing. It's just like I make up my own slang as I go along, and people have believed it so far.
Yeah.
If you find yourself, if an idea pops into your head, and you think, I wonder if that's okay. It's your character, man. Nobody knows your character but you. It's all about stopping. It's believing in yourself. Stop wondering if that's okay, because it is okay. If you decide later, that probably wasn't something they say, nobody's gonna remember it. Just fix it later. Or if they do, be like, she changed, or he my character changed, my character grew. They aren't that person who said that thing anymore.
Another good thing about that is now that you realize, hey, this probably isn't something they would say, you'll avoid saying things like that again in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're in that process, you're still figuring out more and more about your character until you can eventually fine tune what your character is into stuff that you would say, which will,
Mm-hmm.
improve your improv. You know what I mean?
And the flip side of that coin is you decide whether you're going to say something, you decide to say it, and then you realize, oh yeah, that's who this person is. And then you're one step closer to fleshing out this person that exists, that you are guiding through the universe.
Finding out what your character would and wouldn't do in any given situation is what makes good improv, in my opinion. At least when it comes to role-playing your character.
I actually have a different approach to this as well, and everything that C Star and Krook just said, accurate, right? But I think another thing that can help you out a lot if you're not as good at improv is taking time and writing out your character's backstory, right? So a lot of your character, who they are today, is what they did in the past. So having a really good idea of what your character has been through and how they would take that knowledge and approach a new situation, that helps as well. Know your character's personality. 5e helps you a ton with this. They give you, in your background, a lot of small little ways to push you in that direction to roleplay your character. Flaws, bonds, ideals, etc.
They do. It's an excellent resource, and I think to back up what Gavin is saying, something that doesn't even come to mind often, I sort of just do it passively, is unless I already know how I'm thinking and feeling, like I said, I go in my head, okay, Paladin wants to say that this is wrong and you should stop. And then once I'm positive, yeah, that's what he would say, then I go forward and fill in the blanks. And as long as you are saying the thing you mean to say, I think that you will be happy with what your character has said.
Evie, any thoughts?
Raiden kind of pointed that out as well when he says that he plays Leon, who's a giant dumbass, and he says Raiden knows big words that he can comprehend and understands them, but sometimes he says them and he's like, wait a second, fucking Leon doesn't know that, he's too stupid. So he says that, but he doesn't actually say that because he's too stupid to know that specific word, but he says what I said, essentially.
No one's asking you to be the perfect improv, perfect role player. Have fun with it.
Yeah, there you go. There it is. There
Have
it
fun.
is.
Have fun with it.
Fun. We're playing a game. You want to go
Fun.
play soccer on the
Everyone,
field?
take
Have
a
a good
shot.
It's
time.
video
Take a
games.
shot, everyone.
Video games.
Next question, coming from Ro. This is
Lovely.
this is gonna be the only time we answer this question. At least
Is
in
Ro
this half
bullying
of the
me?
year. No, if I say this, we're only going to answer this question one time. Maybe ask again
Okay.
half a year from now. Fuck, marry, kill. Everyone's characters but your own. Evie, you start. We'll get asked this. If I don't preface it, we're gonna get asked this question every week.
Okay. Fuck, marry, kill. Fuck Avash. Marry. God.
Wait, is
Sino?
this Pidge or Evie speaking?
Is this real life?
This is Evie.
Oh,
I can do
Okay,
Pidges
us-
after.
yeah,
Fuck
we'll do both, we'll do
Avash.
both.
Fuck Avash. Marry Sino. Kill Travis Willingham.
Quite fair.
And then Pidge is actually quite similar. Fuck Malcolm, because
Whoa.
I feel like he would be comfortable with that. Which, Road loves that shit. But fuck Malcolm. Marry Rez. Kill Travis Willingham.
I'm one of my weaknesses is having a catalog of names in my head. So why don't you go ahead, Krook, while I scroll through the player list real quick.
Sure. Okay, so for me, I don't know who I would fuck. I probably would also marry Sino.
Yeah.
Just because he's a fucking sweetheart, and I feel like he would just make me the happiest person. Who would I fuck? Oh, fucking Tenebrae. Duh. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
And-
fuck Tenebrae, yeah.
Who would I kill? I'd probably kill Malcolm just to put him out of his misery.
He would like that. I think he would like that very much if you did.
And then for Avash, it's probably easy. He'd still fuck Tenebrae. Guess he would want to marry Talindra. I don't know if he's thought about it that far though. And then he'd probably still kill Malcolm.
Probably
Wow.
still kill Malcolm.
He'd either kill Malcolm or he'll kill Izzard because Izzard always has problems with Avash.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to get rid of that negativity in his life. I'm sorry, Izzard boy. If Blue ever watches these.
Get rid of that negativity. Do you have one, Gavin?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what Anna would say. I think I would let's see here. Probably fuck Talindra, right?
Yeah.
Marry Liara. Liara. Lorilla? Yeah.
Lorilla.
Lorilla.
Oh, Lorilla.
Because honestly, the reference art, A+.
Yeah. it's
Door.
good.
As far as kill, you guys forgot all about King Peacock.
Oh, yeah, King Peacock. God.
Oh, Van doesn't
He-
play him before, so he's just gone.
He was very what's the word I'm looking for? Bombastic, which I appreciated.
Let me look real quick. Hold on. I can take a second look really quick if I can't kill King Peacock. I mean,
I mean,
You
I don't
can.
think it's fair.
I don't
to
want to stop you.
restrict.
I mean, if we're
Yeah.
going on the logic of putting people out of their misery, there's a pretty big list.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I was thinking about Roz for that.
Was it the
position,
Gavin?
because if it's a question of who requests the most to be killed, then I think it's first place Razak and second place any of Ozzy's characters.
Yeah.
No, fucking DJ is cool.
DJ's pretty cool right
Okay,
now.
I guess Ozzy themselves more than
Yeah.
Ozzy's characters.
As far as Anna goes, as far as who she's gonna fuck, it's gotta be fast and fun. So it's probably Kai's Leon Strife.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
marry Talindra. And probably also kill King Peacock.
Yeah.
Vroom Vroom's a close second. Vroom Vroom's retired, but Vroom Vroom would be the close second to that.
Oh shit! Retirements. Put the sad music back on. Put the sad music back on.
Retirements. Oh no. Who retired? I mean, I guess I'm about to find out, but I didn't even know.
It's so sad. After his recent death, Vladimir, now revived, decided to hang his adventuring mantle down in favor of regular life. He has a job at Serendipity, a basement to stay in, and someone to love. He does not need to go out there and put himself at risk for the thrill of adventure. Vladimir is in the retirement home. Nod went missing and was never seen or heard from ever again.
Poor Nod. He just wanted to be an asshole.
Peace. Okay, good.
You know. Why?
Lovely.
C-Star.
Shit, we have time.
C-Star,
We have time.
you're up.
I don't think we do now.
What do we have time for?
FMK. You haven't gone yet.
I haven't.
I
haven't. I gotta say, there are a wealth of fine dudes to select on the server. It's terribly unfortunate though. I'm dreadfully straight, and so I am looking out for those fly honeys, so to speak. And the selection. Okay, well, obviously, right off the bat, fuck is easily Casey's backup chick gun, which is a Warforged that is a small chicken that opens up to reveal several mounted miniguns.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Mary would have to be Cynosure, because I don't care how straight you are. That man is lovely. And Kill is going to be Philippe, because I am sick and tired of the name mispronunciation. Sorry, Philip. I mean Felipe.
Add 2 to the counter.
You can't just pick a name that has like 5 different pronunciations
You can't.
in the one way
And
that
then have
it's
a fucking
spelled, and
mispronunciation
you're like,
counter.
oh, listen, you
Oh.
mispronounced it. You said it the Spanish way, but I intended it to be the French way.
Krook mentioned my character Jacqueline back on CWM, spelled Jaqeuelanne. Jacqueline.
A lot
You
of
would not believe Jacqueline, 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 and I never said a word. Some people did. I never said a word because
We had the character for
it's so weird.
It's like 4 or 5, and you
Like
should have
7,
counted.
dude.
That's all I'm saying. 7? Fuck, it's been too long.
Let's get we need a resident expert on this. Sabir, if you're in here, we need your help on pronunciations. That was your FMK for Paladin or for C-Star?
What's the question?
What was your FMK for? Was it for Paladin or C-Star?
Oh, that was obviously for me.
Paladin's a robot. I don't think
Yeah, Paladin is asexual. He is
You
not
can skip
interested
one.
in intercourse. Yeah. He's asexual, so he's not interested in intercourse. He doesn't understand what marriage is, but he would probably pick.
Hold on, but if a demon queen had you under contract and would kill your closest
Okay,
friend,
who would I
had
just
to
sort of
fight someone.
mash my torso up
Would
against
you
for a few
mash your robot body against?
hours?
What?
Probably. I whoever would let me. Is that an option? Is that viable?
Yes.
Whoever would be cool with that. Oh, let's look at my list of allies. Who is the closest?
Oh
to me?
God.
God, no.
Well, looks like Avash was. Oh no, Izard. Paladin and Izard always ride the elephant and get day drunk around Sigil together on whenever they start a quest together. So
Ride the elephant, huh?
you don't even know. All right. So, fuck Zard, in the good way.
Nice.
The best.
I'll just pick people off of this list. Fuck Zard, marry Independence, and kill Jolly Link, who insulted me once.
Who insulted me once?
So he must have been-
Literally me.
There's
the
a story
best part
behind
is,
that. But,
I
yeah.
expect Paladin is explaining to someone and just says it just so casually. Yeah, I just killed Jolly Link. He even insulted me once.
It's a bit more in depth than that, but I don't know if we have time for it.
Let's save it for later. That's fair.
Sure.
One final question. This is a serious one. Again, thank you, Ro, by the way, for that question.
Thank you, Ro.
A lot of chat to go up. Okay, so Toothless asks, question: is making a character similar to yourself a good thing or a bad thing? I
think
have
I
a lot of
answered
thoughts
that.
on this, but I'd like to hear from you guys first.
I think I answered that earlier, but if Evie or Krook have anything to say.
I can answer. I don't think it's a bad thing to make a character that's similar to yourself, because I think it can be easy for them to like put themselves into that person's shoes. Like, oh, how would I respond to this? Well, then this is how this person responds to this. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it's
Whatever
be-
is the most fun. Sorry, please.
no, it can be weird for other people because then it's like, well, you're just playing yourself. Like, where's the fantasy in this? And I guess that can be an issue. I don't know. Personally, I don't really care. If you're gonna play yourself in D&D, then go ahead and play yourself in D&D.
Yeah. You should do whatever is the most fun for you. And if you end up playing with people who tell you that your way of playing is breaking their immersion, then they're playing the wrong game. They need to go fucking pick up World of Warcraft or I don't know.
Listen, I don't know
some
if
RPG.
but no one role plays in World of Warcraft. That is just queue for LFR and wait 30 minutes.
They do. There's servers, man. You wouldn't believe. One
No,
of my
all
buddies-
it is going to fucking Goldshire Inn and getting naked and then dancing.
You're half right. As in half of the RP is that. Excuse me. ERP is instant ban. Don't do ERP, kids.
Do not do ERP.
Evie, do you have
But,
anything? Do you have anything specific, Evie, before I get on my high horse?
Nah.
here comes my horse. You want to borrow mine? I've got 5.
I have 5
So-
horses.
As an extension of Anna, my thoughts on this question. I think that people who don't roleplay very often, who don't put a lot of thought into it, will treat people with their character the same way they treat people in real life. And that's kind of what I do at Anna, right? So, I'm in a situation, and I'm talking to someone. Well, Gavin and Anna would say this, right? But the difference is your backstory, right? You're calling upon the backstory of your character to tailor some of your responses, right? So, no, I don't think it's a bad thing to have your character be similar to yourself. Some people have more fun that way. And I actually had a really long talk one time with Rowan about him and Malcolm, for instance, are very separate people. Very, very different. And sometimes it's just exhausting to continuously be thinking all day long while you roleplay, what's the exact opposite of what I would do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's easier to, like I mentioned, like it's easier to assess what you would do in a situation because it's you. You spend all your life being you, and so you can just kind of insert yourself.
And I think that's a default, right? I think that's a default attitude that people go to, right?
Of course.
Yeah, definitely default. Definitely new player default, especially. It's just some people get a rise out of that exhaustion. You know, if and I'm gonna say it again for about the 5th time. If you have the most fun playing yourself, then go for it. And if you're getting bored of that, then do something else. And if you find that exhausting, then stop. it's
For the spirit of the question, what would be some bad situations where you wouldn't want to play a character similar to yourself? When wouldn't you want to?
Probably, and I'll take this. It's the one that's where conflict is happening, because Evie is a sassy bitch.
Yep.
But Pidge is not.
Mm-hmm.
And Pidge is like the best boy in the world. He's like, listen, you can yell at me, that's fine. But Evie's like, excuse me? You have insulted me once, you were dead to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
no argument here.
Yeah, I guess
that's why be extra nice to eat.
If anyone in chat has a final question, we'll take a quick final question.
One
Continue.
in off topic. Why is Avash so goddamn sexy?
Ooh.
I don't know.
Is there an answer?
I picked the art. I found the art on the internet, and I really liked it because I was like, I want to make a wizard, but I want to make a cool wizard who's a cool guy. And so I looked on the internet, cool wizards for cool guys. And I got him. He's not a pirate. I'll stab you in real life.
I have pictures
with your rapier because you're a pirate.
With my pirate rapier, because I'm a pirate. But a real question.
Yeah, I think that we can answer that a little further. I mean, you don't.
think?
It's part of fantasy, right? Is making characters who are ideal and physically, mentally, ideal wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's fun to be like the pretty guy, right? Because it's just like in character you have an excuse to be full of yourself, which can just be a neat little thing, right? Because you get to have an attitude for things, or you get to, again, like you pretend like you have all that confidence, and then that goes into the whole thing of like, well, role playing can help you with like your own like social things, right? So pretending that you're this this sexy wizard can help you feel like a sexy wizard in real life sometimes, right?
You're right.
Oh man, I was muted again. Okay.
Oh my God.
Hey, if I didn't get that far into it, at the risk of losing all of my viewers, I think that Riot Games with League of Legends put it best, okay? At the end of the day, they have to eventually make a really drop-dead sexy female character because somebody wants to play that fantasy. They can't just leave it out. For some people, that's just what they want to play. And that applies to D&D as well. You make
I think,
however, you want to play.
The important thing is to make it not be the character, right? Like, yeah, Avash is a sexy dude, but his character isn't the sexy dude.
There it is.
Paladin's pretty sexy.
Boy. Pretty sexy. Look at those DSLs.
I think that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for tonight, guys.
All right.
At this point, we like to give out some shout outs. Evie, any shout outs you'd like to give?
Shout out to the gays and the artists. The gay artists.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, well,
that's so close.
You don't have to be a gay artist, but you can just be an artist. I'm okay with that.
I'm the regular artist. That's my shout out. I'm gonna hold that one close to my heart.
Regular artist.
Oh, I meant the other checkbox.
The other artists.
The gays and the other.
Krook, shout outs.
As always, shout outs to Toof. Shout outs to I don't know, getting sick. Shout outs to
fucking yo. Same.
Shout outs to Evie's gallbladder stones. Shout outs to
Listen,
Evie's gross. Isn't there anymore.
It's in the garbage can somewhere.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Yes.
Okay. Shout out to Sino. You're my favorite guy. Shout out to everybody who actively thumbs ups or downs rewards in the reward submissions channel.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
And shout out to my little brother who's almost old enough to play D&D. And I'm probably
Nice.
going to show him these and get him educated.
How old is that?
He is 12. Some individuals would prefer that he plays D&D never, because they believe it's a terrible game of the occult where you cast spells and become terrible
Well, they're right,
fiendish
but continue.
villains. Right. But I am set to teach him when he turns 13, regardless, and he's going to have a great time with it.
I actually know how to summon Satan now, so that's a really good
Yeah.
bonus to
Really?
playing
I
D&D.
I'm not at that level yet.
That's what
Damn
Out of the
it.
Abyss was for.
I can
You
get
have
that.
to play a wizard.
You gotta play with. That's why wizards are
My wizard died to 3 fireballs, though.
the.
Oh yeah, rip Clampy.
All right, that's it for me.
Okay, well, as for myself, shoutouts, as always, first and foremost, Rhymulus, Silasher, my friend, he kind of keeps this channel running. My duo, my duo in crime, what? My partner in crime.
My duo and crime partner.
My duo Q partner in crime. Always there
Supreme
to
squared.
help and give me suggestion, and just he's literally the best. Shoutouts to our great and wonderful guest, C-Star. You have made this
Aw.
easily one of my favorite episodes thus far. No offense to our last two guests; they were garbage compared
You hear
to
that, Raiden?
C-Star.
You hear
Yeah,
that,
fuck
Raiden?
Raiden.
Well,
and,
no one said they would fuck Raiden. Oh no, you said Leon. Never mind. We're good.
Different Leon, the inferior.
Oh,
the
damn.
Superior in the sex department, Leon.
No love for Akram? Okay, shout out to Akram for being everybody's favorite idiot.
And final shout out, really quick. Final shout out to Raiden, because really he has inadvertently started a really really cool thing.
Hate that
I
guy.
talked to him the other day. He did not, as far as I know, he did not expect this to blow up in the way it did.
No,
But
didn't.
honestly, it's
No.
been
It's
a
all
huge
my
treat
fault.
to all of us. A few programming notes before we close out the stream. Next episode will be between Thursday and Sunday. We're trying to do Friday episodes. We're trying to see how everyone's schedule lines up. We tried to be a little bit early this week because we're trying to get out of the time slot for Critical Role, so all of you critters out there can go watch that after this. Maybe go give them some advice that we have taught you tonight.
I think they can. I think they need
Yeah,
it.
Go tell Travis Willingham that we fucking hate him.
Oh, yeah, so tell Travis Willingham that we want him to die.
I hope that you guys sort of notice we want to put more emphasis on the guest in future episodes. So if there's a guest that you really, really want to see, if you want to nominate a guest, PM me, Evie, Krook. You can PM Raiden. I mean, he has nothing to do with it, but blow him up anyways.
Tell Raiden all of your favorite colors and in exact order, from ascending to descending, and
I
then
know mine.
yeah, you should. And fucking send Raiden by fax all of your nudes and your foods.
If you aren't following the channel, follow my channel here, Gavin_XI.
Yes.
I got a sub button last week, so that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that.
Woo!
And a lot of people here had a direct part in that, so thank you so much for that. If you have Amazon Prime and have not used Twitch Prime, you automatically have Twitch Prime. If you haven't used a Twitch Prime sub, I know this really cool channel you can use it on. Other than that, if anyone have any final words for the audience?
We love you.
I love you.
And you're all amazing, and you guys are what make us keep going. Because, yeah.
When you're playing D&D, you're playing to have fun. So if you're not having fun, play a different way.
Play.
If you die in the game, you die in real life.
Oh shit!
All of it.
Oh!
Wow!